drama. Keep your trap shut. Don't give the rats any information. This is the 5th one this week. First it was protect our country, and now we can't even speak? You're listening to propaganda and nationalist messaging, where anything, and I mean anything, will be taken seriously and judged. Because what I'm going to be sharing today is going to make you question why. Just why did everyone back then believe what they were saying was right? Hello, I'm Jordan, and today we're diving back into World War II. So with that, put your helmets on and let's begin. Unfortunately, it began back in the 1930s, where someone's beliefs, opinions, religions, and even artistic beliefs had immense power. I want you to imagine that you're this everyday citizen, but here's the catch. You're a Jew. Picture this man with a small mustache, taking away your rights and sharing false claims about your identity, where you can't even go and ask, hey, where's the nearest train station? Before you get thrown very descriptive dialogue about your people. Even though, rain check, you're German as well. How would you react to the Nazis' propaganda? We'll get back to that question later. Basically, Hitler rose into power, taking everything into his own hands, figuratively and physically. You thought racism was bad? Well, apologies, but it just got worse. Now fake news is spreading around, and you're left questioning why. Well, this is what I like to call, dear friend, propaganda, where you can make anything to your heart's content. It's really just another way to rage bait the reader, or if you're German, the entire population, excluding the Jews. Racial wasn't the only issue throughout the war. In fact, cultural hatred played an immense role in propaganda back then. Every artwork had something making fun or commenting about the countries. Or again, if you imagine yourself as a Jew, you get offended. You thought racism was just the tip of the iceberg? Most certainly not. They weren't just good with their hands, but great at acting. Come on, everybody. Let's give the Nazis a big old gold star. No, but seriously, I feel bad for my great-grandma living through all of that. She's 103. Okay, well, considering Nazi Germany seems so good with everything, it obviously felt like things are going downhill for the Jews. And they were right. The Nazis achieved being appealed, if that's what you think. Literally at the time, all you'd see is a Nazi symbol, and blood if you're lucky. Of course, forgetting to share how manipulative the Nazis were would be a huge fail on my part because, in all honesty, that was how they were so good at making propaganda in the first place. Which is how it became able to get the psychological indifference of the readers who read the newspapers or listened to the radio podcast, and as mentioned earlier, through films and artworks. Now, I don't know about you, but being practically controlled by someone such as Hitler isn't what anyone considered to have on their bucket list. Not even a bucket list, just years of confinement and loss. In those years, soon there are obvious consequences of these fake news spreading around and eventually creating "this is the enemy," which is just another word for propaganda at the time of World War II. Hey, it says on the Book of Exclusion that if a Jew comes 6 feet close to us or tries to have a conversation, we have the right to fight them. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's messed up. I mean, I just wanted to ask where the closest coffee shop is. I didn't ask it a broken nose. Okay. I'll stop breaking the fourth wall. As discussed previously, Hitler took a huge interest in art, so much so his dad hated him for wanting to become an artist rather than a civil servant. Remember the intro skit I just did? Yeah, there's a reason why I chose that one specifically. I did say to imagine yourself as a Jew. Okay, but we need to discuss more in other countries, about their own propaganda. For example, America would find themselves as a ticking time bomb, figuratively and physically, as they took over many countries during World War II by bombing them. Another example would be Russia. Their propaganda would disclose productivity, literacy, anti-religious messages to throw readers off, purposely, mind you. And even national heroism of their own country. I mean, before World War II began, Russia would be in the middle of looking for independence for their nation. In other words, these countries that fought against Germany had their own problems to deal with, so the Second World War wouldn't be as organized and it wouldn't be controlled as heavily. The Holocaust, Germany's biggest topic to ever be discussed. The one tool they use in their media and artworks. Germany's military, even including Nazi ideology. And they won that by, again, forcing into people's homes about the perspective of Jews and how to treat them. This whole discussion makes me want to get sick. I mean, children were involved in Hitler's antics during the destruction of Europe. Nationalist messaging is what you think it is. Except, here's the catch. It's the Allies and Axis that have and been the ones in control of the propaganda of Nazi Germany. Who would have thought that we'd find out who were the ones getting these ideas? Other than Hitler, of course. The Allies employed propaganda in World War II to counter Axis narratives, to destroy their war effort, which played an extensive role in boosting Germany's troops, and even portraying the Axis as oppressive and brutal. Now that we're finally discussing nationalist messaging with the Allied powers, that means I can share my final viewpoint of ultranationalism. So we know that Germany now, the Nazis is the only group right now with governmental control. They had more support. Honestly, how? More troops, media, and machinery. This was 4 out of many others that the Nazis achieved. At the time, Germany had a huge group of people who supported the Nazis, not that they had a choice in the matter. Meanwhile, the Allied supporters were either on the far left side, the far right side, or in the middle, causing less supporters. Even so, as described earlier, considering Germany was being pushed from left to right to left, it's going to cause a lot of confusion and even loss of identity. Both the Nazis and Allied supporters have corrupt leaders. World War II was, to put simply, far more worse than World War I. It was more of a bloodbath, more disagreements, and far more corrupt. It is now where I sign off for the day. Let this be a lesson for you to know that not every country turns out what they say it is. Because we all know that history repeats itself. Consider what I asked in the introduction. I mean it. What would you do when someone forces your rights away?